So today we are going to tackle a question that many of you have asked us. How should I prepare for the next match? If I have 9 months or a year, what exactly should I be doing? So early planning and execution is at the heart of a successful residency match. Today we are going to share with you 10 actionable tips that will keep you on track and lead to a successful match if you have 9 to 12 months. Each one of them is doable based on our experience with thousands of IMGs over the past few years. So in this video, we're going to talk about the top 10 things you will do if you have 9 to 12 months for a successful match. If this is your first time here, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram so that we can keep you informed on everything latest about the USMLE and the match. So today's plan is very useful if you have between 6 to 9 months before the ERAS application deadline and 3 months after that. So between 9 to 12 months total. Of course, it doesn't matter if you're a repeat applicant or you're applying for the first time. It does not mean that you cannot start early. If you have time, you can start early. And we understand profiles differ. So for some people, 6 months may be enough. For other applicants, may take up to 1 year. Now, in this video, we're not going to talk about scores, gaps, or other red flags. We have done other videos that I can point you to in the description, and you can follow those videos. This is only about execution of what you should be doing between the 9 and the 12 months that you have for the next season. The basic assumption, of course, here is that you do have between 12 to 15 hours a day all put together focused on USMLE. Now, whether it is the CK exam, rotations, research, all put together, if you have 12 to 15 hours a day, then this plan is very doable. And we do have free profile reviews, so take advantage of those. I'll have the link to that in description as well. If you set up time with us, we can guide you on your plan and we can tell you what specific things you need to do for the match. So point number 1, don't cheat yourself. Evaluate your profile honestly. What do I mean by that? You need to know what specialty you are interested in, what are your scores, because they go hand in hand. How much experience do you actually have? How much of electives do you have? If you don't have any electives, what is the plan? Do you actually have a timeline, or you don't know what you are supposed to do next? Let me give you another example. Let's say you're preparing for CK and you're thinking, okay, let me finish the CK by August and then I will think about USCE. This may not work for you. So you need to be able to plan ahead, book the USCE or whatever you're lacking, so that by the time August comes, you're ready to do whatever else is needed. So you need to be able to multitask. If you're a repeat applicant, do you know why you didn't match? Do you know why you didn't get those interviews? So those are some of the questions you need to answer to do that self-assessment honestly and improve for the next season. If you have gaps, if you have little or no USCE, you definitely have a mountain to climb in terms of understanding of the US healthcare system, in terms of getting those strong LORs that they need, in terms of showing the readiness for the match. So it will take time, but it is doable. Then the second but related point is knowing about the specialties. So it's one thing to have your own self-assessment. The second is which specialty are you a fit for? What you want may be different than what the specialty is looking for. Each specialty has a profile that they look for, whether it's a score, whether it's the experience, whether it's the step 3, so on and so forth. And we have done other videos that you can look at in terms of what each specialty requires. NRMP has enough information that you can evaluate and then see if there is a fit between what you bring and what the specialty demands. Let me give you another example. Let's say your scores are in low 200s, but you are interested in IM, you have multiple attempts. Is that possible, the IM match? Probably it is possible, but it is not going to be straightforward to you. Some of our students in certain situations have had to do different things. So for example, MPH, many of them have had to work in research for over 2 years before they got to the IM match. So you have to have that realistic assessment of your skills, your scores, look at the requirements of the specialty before you make that decision. Let me give you another example. There are many students who come to us and straight away ask for How do I get into neurosurgery? How do I get into ortho or something more competitive? So the first thing in these cases is to understand what these specialties look for, and then assess your experiences and skills to see if you have a fit, and if you have the time, and if you have the resources to do what these specialties expect you to do to be ready for the match. So these first two are very important. Ability to understand your own profile and then understand the needs of the specialty. Why? Because many students we see every year, they keep spinning the wheels. 1 month in pathology, 1 month in neurology, 2 months in IM, then 2 months in pediatrics, and then they will say, why can I not match it? Cannot match because there is no focus. They are not building on their skills for a specialty specific profile. Now, realistically, many students will have to narrow down to two specialties, and that's okay. If you have about 9 months, then with two specialties, it can be still doable. If you have 6 months or so left before the IRAD application deadline, then probably focusing on one specialty is the way to go. The third most important thing you need to do as you plan this is plan your rotations, the USCE, whether it's externships, electives, or telerotations. The best, of course, are if you're able to do electives, if you've done electives as part of your medical school. If not, you can consider externships. They are more valuable than observerships. But also you have to look at where you're going to do these rotations. So you can check out the other video we did on how to select the USCE. That'll help you make the decision on which USCE to pick as you are planning your rotations. But again, most of the USCE is booked up to 7 to 8 months in advance. So you got to plan early so that you don't have to scramble at the end. Sometimes you are so late that you may not even get a good LOR out of it. Again, planning is important. So even if you are preparing for your exams, you need to be able to book these rotations 6 to 7 months ahead of time. For those of you who cannot travel or for other reasons who cannot do the on-site rotations, you should consider tele-rotations. Tele-rotations are here to stay because of the pandemic, and we expect for at least another couple of seasons. You can also check our website for all the USC and rotations and let us know if you need help. Now, what is the outcome you're looking for? You're looking for that by March, you should have planned for the next 4 to 5 months leading up to September, and you should know where you're going, where you're doing those rotations, and when. Then number four, the fourth tip is planning for letters of recommendations. This is also important. Many students ignore it or they have no idea of the importance of the LORs. So the letters have to be waived, they have to be customized, they have to be personalized. And all this will need time. All this will need enough number of rotations so that if one LOR doesn't work out, you can look for the other. If you have enough time, maybe you can spend more than a month at one location and get a stronger LOR. So if you have time, plan in advance to look for at least 3 letters of recommendation in a specialty. That is also important. Specialty specific LORs are what is needed. So if you have 6 to 7 months, probably you can do rotations in 2 separate specialties and get those LORs. If you have less than 6 months, you're likely bound to only one specialty. This is also a mistake a lot of students commit, trying to use, say, IMLORs in pediatrics or vice versa. Now, in worst case scenario, you can do it, but it is not ideal. So you have to have specialty specific LOR. And if you have time, you also don't need filler LORs. Now, what are filler LORs? Filler LORs are when you're using some unwaived LOR or you're using some home country LOR, even if it may be generic or just not customized enough. So avoid using these letters, but give it enough time so that you can get strong letters. So the fifth tip is to start knowing the programs, researching the programs. And this is where the repeat applicants have an advantage because they may have gone through the cycle once. They have an idea of a lot of programs. But you may be asking, why should I research the programs if I have to anyway apply to say about 150 to 200 programs in IM, for example? Now, the issue is program research comes in very handy when you are to do program outreach, when you are writing emails to them during the season, when you're reaching out to the program coordinator, the knowledge of the program, what it entails, what they offer, becomes very useful in customizing those communication and can get you some more interviews. You can use the Residency Explorer, you can use Frida. Of course, if you are a Sarthi student, you will have access to the USMLE Sarthi list of programs where there is a comprehensive analysis of all the residency programs in the IMG favored specialties. So your goal should be to know about 60 to 70 programs between July and August. By July and August, you should have good knowledge, information about these programs, and then rest of the programs during the season you can pick up. The sixth important thing you need to do between now and match, if you have 9 to 12 months, is research. Research is becoming increasingly important now. Whether you do case reports or you have a full-time position in a university as a research associate, or you also do self-directed research, because like a lot of our students do research with us, we help them publish. So all of these things can help. Of course, there is an importance, the hierarchy of importance. If you are working full-time at, say, Harvard or Mayo Clinic or Cleveland Clinic, and you're able to publish, that will be the most beneficial. But there are other kinds of research that you can do. You can get published, you can send your papers or abstracts to conferences. All these things help. But again, these things take time. If it is August and you start thinking about research, that's not going to be very useful by the time your ERAS application deadline comes along. So give it time, but understand research is important. If there are gaps in your CV, if there are other red flags, then research becomes more important. Start thinking about it now. The seventh important thing that I want to share with you is work, work, work. A lot of IMGs have this misconception that the home country experience does not matter. They undervalue it a lot. And I'd say that is a big mistake. Home country experience matters a lot. So if you have an opportunity to work at a busy hospital in primary care, in fact, even in COVID, please go ahead and do that. In this season, many of our students who had home country extensive experience but did not have enough USCE or did tele-rotations got very good interviews. Many of them had pre-match also. And of course, programs are starting to pay a lot more attention to home country experience, given the fact that the USCE options may be limited, on-site USCE may be limited. Along with the work, the other thing you need to start focusing on is volunteering. Now, volunteering just means giving back to the community. It may not be in the medical field. It could be something else also, but giving back to community is important, and this will help you greatly during the interview if the conversation goes to your volunteering activity. Related to this is hobbies. So whether you play guitar or you have your own YouTube channel, now is the time to start brushing up on your hobbies, because again, in the interview, this is great fodder for discussion, and they like to see the non-medical side of your personality. So very useful. If you have time, start focusing on volunteering activities, on your hobbies. But again, like I said, most important thing in this point is work experience. Get your work experience if you are in home country. The eighth point is networking. Now, networking is greatly misunderstood by the IMG community. Many of the IMGs think networking just means connections. You know, I have my friend, I have my uncle, and I have my spouse, and only then can I match. Otherwise, I cannot match. But when I say networking, I mean professional networking. How do you develop a professional network? Attend conferences, reach out to your college alumni, build on your connections from your rotations, those attendings with whom you have worked. You may be able to do some case reports. They may be able to refer you for some other rotations. So all this professional network will come in very useful to you during the season. Learn to use tools like LinkedIn or Twitter. They are also a great platform to help you connect with similar-minded individuals. The ninth point is now on the ERAS CV and PS. This is an important issue. Take time. Students tend to push it out too much and in the end do a shabby job. Please avoid that. Mistakes in ERAS, CV, and personal statement can be very, very costly, and they'll come back to haunt you during the interview season or even during the evaluation of your document. So please give it enough time. So target the first draft of your CV and PS by end of July. Personal statement can be more time consuming for some students, but again, this is a very important part of your application. Having worked with thousands of students over the past few years, we know the mistakes that can creep in your CV and personal statement and how important these two documents are. I cannot stress it enough that if you leave it to the last week or so to complete all this, you are going to be in trouble. So spend time, don't rush on your PS and CV. The last but one of the most crucial points is interview preparation. Now, many of you may be facing residency interviews for the first time, but that's okay. That does not mean that you cannot do well and nail the interviews. But remember, interviews can be make or break for your residency chances. It does need a lot of practice. What you will need to do is start gathering your experiences, start thinking about your experiences, as you do your rotations, as you start writing down your CV and PS. So things like handling a difficult patient, difficult attending, your success, your failures, your long-term goals, all this, which will be part of the interviews, you can start thinking about these things now. Get a structure in place so that as soon as you have done with your application, you already have 50 to 60% of the preparation in terms of your thoughts, in terms of the structure of your responses ready, and then you start polishing them. The common mistake here is people don't think about the interview preparation till after submitting their application. And if they get the interview and they have only 1 week left to prepare for the interview, that's not the ideal scenario. That's the biggest challenge we've seen with interview preparation. In the end, I can just say that Match is all about controlling the controllables. Time is precious, start early. We have had people with multiple attempts, 15-year YOG, 20-year YOG, they all match. It's all about how well you execute the plans that you lay out. If you need help, like I mentioned, we have a free profile review that you can make use of. So you can set up time with us and we can guide you in terms of what you may need to do between now and the match day. Hopefully this video was useful. So if you found it useful, please like it, share it with others who may find it beneficial as well. With that, I wish you good luck for your match journey, the upcoming match season, and you can all do it.